Philby. I'm the author of 5 novels, all of which feature women leading double lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I create characters that are not necessarily likeable or ones that we kind of relate to necessarily in the first instance, but one that we connect to in a more meaningful way and hopefully want to spend a lot of time with. So, for example, the end of summer, that was recently described by the Sunday Times as a female talented Miss Ripley. We meet Judy in the south of France, near to where I am now, tending her garden when the phone rings. It's her daughter Francesca back in London telling her that there are journalists on the doorstep and they're saying that the case of her father's murder has been reopened, with Judy as the prime suspect. So, as happens a lot with my novels, we meet our protagonist at a point where the various versions of their lives have collided in dramatic and terrible ways, and we kind of need to then work backwards to understand how they got to the position that they're in now. So the most important thing is character. If we're going to spend a lot of time with somebody who's doing dubious sort of madcap things, we need to understand why they're doing it, and we want to spend time with them and understand their motives, even if we might not have made the same choices ourselves. So in the case of Judy, the story peels back and we find her in New York, in Brooklyn, about to skid off, almost literally, on her first adventure where she's creating a new life for herself. I then, very importantly, need to understand myself what was happening in her life as a child, like when she was growing up, what was her first life that she was so keen to escape, and how, how much to actually reveal this and how much I know are things that I kind of work out as I go along, but I have to know who she is. I have to know who her parents were. I have to know what school she went to. Once I've got all that firmly in place, I start thinking about the setting. So here in south of France is somewhere I know very well because my dad lived here. So it meant that I can explain the smells, the birds, the insects, like the one that was just buzzing above my head. And also know the location, so where she might have gone to have like clandestine meetings and the kind of people that she would have been talking to. So that kind of, classic world building. I always choose settings that I know well enough to make them very realistic, particularly when you're writing a thriller that's twisty with lots of different elements coming together. There has to be a sense of stability and believability that comes, for me, a lot from the setting, so that the reader kind of trusts you and will go along with your storytelling. The third element is plot. Plot, of course, is absolutely integral. I often use dual narrators because I like that peeling back the onion layer effect that it gives. So you think that you know a story because you've had one person's version of it, and then you hear the recollections of another person at the same event, and you realise you didn't know anything at all. It's kind of like if you have loads of family members sitting around at lunch, and everyone's chatting, and then after somebody asks everybody who was there to tell them what happened, and everyone who was there will have a different version of that event, and no one's truth is any more or less valid, but it's obviously just depends on their context, their relationships, what else was going on for them at that time. So really it's about piecing together the pieces of the jigsaw so that when we have the full picture at the end, we realise it's a very different scene to the one that we thought we were going to get. And that creates a sense of satisfaction, the sort of, hopefully with a few twists along the way, and a character that we can ultimately trust in, enjoy, spend a lot of time with, even if we don't necessarily go along with what they've done. Thank you.